Everyone, welcome to the Invictus Podcast. My name is Ara. I'm joined with the co-owner of Invictus as well, Jason, and we appreciate you spending some time with us. Today, we are very happy to have Brad Barnes with us. He is a first-degree black belt and owner and head instructor at Midland BJJ in Texas. Hey, Brad, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
What's up, Brad? So I know you've brought us out a couple times to do some training out there with your guys, which is it's been super awesome. We've always had big turnouts, lots of officers, and just some of your students. But why don't you give us a little bit of your background as a police officer and in Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts, just so guys know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I started out in MMA first. That's what I started doing 3 months after I graduated high school. So I'm 18 years old, got involved in it from there. And it was one of those things where that path naturally took me because of doing the fighting, doing the training, and then being, that the stereotypical job would be being a bouncer. That led me to have interactions with officers as they'd come in and take the drunk guys off and clear up the parking lots and stuff. And they asked me to start coming out to train with them at the range, show them some things, which back then it was, double, single leg, guillotine, key lock, and that was pretty much all jiu-jitsu. So that being able to help them out with that really sparked my interest in police work. And because I would say, y'all are getting paid to come out here to the range and do this right now and have me roll around with you guys and stuff. Yeah, why not do that? That's awesome. That's cool. Because the squad I was working with, they put training very high on the list of things to do. Training day for them was not, let's go to a movie and let's just sit out the range and tell war stories, the same 5 that we tell every week. And then, shifts over, let's go home. And for them, they wanted to train. That's what really kind of it got me hooked on the idea of wanting to do that. And as I progressed, it became a situation of, you're married, you're going to have a kid, you need a job where there's some security, some benefits. Fighting is not going to cover that at all. Mm-hmm. So that pushed me into the law enforcement field as a career. And I feel like those two things really complemented each other, but also that there's a lot of pushback on both ends. But that really is what got me into it, is just being around those guys that were motivated to do something because they wanted to and because they had to.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was in the bouncing game for a long time. Actually, I was in for 18 years before I transitioned at 40 into policing. So I started late. But it's the same thing. It's funny hearing you say that, just interacting with cops and just seeing them. And that's just fascinating to me. Now, before the mic came on, I was asking you, what was it like running a school and also being a police officer? Because I know that there's several cops out there that own schools. I'm one of them, and it can be challenging. So kind of give your reasons and chat about that one.
Yeah, for me, the running the school, the training and everything, that held me accountable to be able to get up in the morning and know, like, hey, I'm going to wake up. I worked nights the entire time I was an officer. So, your night shift, you're going to wake up, and then your first workout of your day is just like everybody else's early morning workout. So I have an afternoon class. I've always had a 3:30 or 4 p.m. class for the duration of the time I've been running schools, owning schools. So for me, it was like, this way I know I can wake up and do something productive, do something I want to do that's going to help me out to kind of etch a sketch my brain to get out all the crap from the night before and be able to tackle the new day. And I didn't realize, like I was telling you earlier, I didn't realize what I was doing that whole time, but I was actually using jiu-jitsu as replacement therapy. And as I got more into the law enforcement career, you're seeing things all the time that people are not well equipped to see. Fortunately, our brain has a mechanism to do that, because our brain's doing a natural response to an unnatural situation, but that natural response, over time develops into PTSD. So having the school there was what was keeping me going, but I didn't understand what that symbiotic relationship was. Mm. So it was real important to me to do it. But then again, when I'm doing it 2006, 2013, 14, I'm getting pushed back from the agency because I am the guy that runs a school that does jiu-jitsu. That's, we got MMA fighters. It's always well, if you enjoy doing that, then you must be a violent person. that was hard for me to try to get some guys that in their career and in their experience, they were doing violence because they had to, they didn't have, I don't think, access to the training. So everything was like, if we're going to do this and mess it up, we're going to go 100 miles an hour, arrive violently, make the encounter end as quick as possible. So if I'm the guy that's doing that for fun, I must be really crazy, I guess, is the way they looked at it, and that was always the furthest thing from the truth. Everybody knows the cops that train and they're doing that, especially the instructors, are the guys that don't ever get use of force complaints. They're the guys that can articulate everything that's going on. They have better vision. They can understand what's happening. So, I mean, it helped me tremendously. It was literally the only thing that helped me have any fun or any success in law enforcement, really.
That's interesting. So you started, when you started, not a lot of cops are training. I mean, very few. No. Compared to now, it's definitely changed. But you're one of the schools, if anybody pays attention to you, that really pushes officers training, not just for the physical aspects, but the mental health aspects as well, because we talked about that. How is this response now? Because you've been pushing it really hard. How has the response been pre-corona to, anyway, how's the response been from officers coming to train with you, asking questions and getting involved?
So I would say that there's two ways to gauge that, the way I look at it. One is going to be, how do people respond that you already have as far as their retention and the way that they continue to train? Because we both know the people that are attracted to law enforcement are usually people that are ego-driven. They feel like, I'm in charge. This is my house. This is my room. We leave when I say we're leaving. So for that person to go into a situation where they're getting used to sucking at something, and then they have to sustain that for a long period of time, I feel like we're already having success there, because the same people that have started training have continued to train. So that tells me that there is a shift in mentality, because they're okay with that daily humbling, that daily dose of getting their butt kicked and coming back for more and asking questions. So on that front, we're doing good. And on the front of guys getting more interested, it's definitely better than 10 years ago, for sure. It's just incremental. There's just so much I think we're having to fight against because of mentalities of command staff, administration. The guys that are in charge now that are going into those positions, they are people that are a little more flexible with this. They understand it. There's now case law behind it. There's all these other training programs, Gracie survival tactics. They have the controlled force program that Militich and everybody did. So they've seen this stuff. They're more, I guess, more acquainted with it. But I still see that pushback of people just not wanting to dive in and do it, even though they will tell you, now I should be doing this. I should be doing this. So I think we're still a couple years away from seeing that real takeoff where people want to do it and want to stick with it, and they're good with it.
So Brad, do you think the reasons that cops don't train is the same today as it was 10 years ago? It's the same excuses we're hearing?
Well, let's see. The ones I used to get were, I don't have time. It costs too much. I don't want to get hurt. I get that. I don't, it doesn't make any sense. I would just shoot the guy if we ended up grappling. As soon as you grab their hands to handcuff them, you're grappling. So don't shoot them, please. They'll go to jail. Let's not do that. So I'm sure y'all heard all the same stuff. And then my responses were the same as y'all's are today. In 2006, 2007, my response was, hey, if you have enough time to play Call of Duty till 4 a.m., you have enough time to be training. Oh, I don't have enough money. If you have enough time to go out all weekend and drink beer with the guys and go on these expensive fishing trips and go on these golf trips, you have enough money to go train. Especially when I would say 100% of MMA and Jiu-Jitsu schools offer some kind of discount to first responders. I haven't seen one that doesn't. I'd be shocked if there was.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Most of them are the same. It's a mentality.
What was the other one? I've never needed it before. Why do I need it now? I think that was one of the biggest ones.
Oh yeah, confirmation bias.
Yeah, I've never needed it before.
It's
okay.
just you know, all you do is you hear the stories about the guys, the old school cops that, you know, they're still on patrol or whatever. They're just there trying to ride out for retirement. And they talk about, we used to carry around slapjacks, and I just hit them with my flashlight, or I got my brick radio or whatever. I'll just punch them. It's like, you guys, the people that are giving you that information and saying that, they're saying that around a room full of rookies that goes, well, if that guy's been doing this for 35 years, he hasn't gotten fired yet, he's still collecting the paycheck, he hadn't started his pistol, well, I'm just going to follow everything that guy does. And so they follow into the line with that.
Mm-hmm.
So Brad, I think one of the things that's changed, it just kind of dawned on me now, is that old school mentality of hitting them with the flashlight or the bashlight or whatever. We know now that people are training way more, and it's within our society. Like, there's more people training jiu-jitsu, MMA, martial arts in general. So, I mean, cops are encountering people who are trained, and it changes the game.
There's good videos.
It changes everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's some good. Have you seen those videos, Brad, where some cops are encountering guys who've clearly been training? I think there's one where a kid puts a cop into a guillotine. See another with hip toss. I mean, it's happening for sure.
Yeah. I mean, just think about just the other day, there was an officer here in Midland that he had to go arrest a guy for just a PI. And that guy had, he's a veteran, and he had trained some MMA. He had done some jiu-jitsu. He had stopped by my gym and trained a jiu-jitsu class.
Wow.
And then he's fighting an officer. He puts the officer in guard when he's on the bottom. And then he's bragging to the officer like, man, you better be glad I didn't use my military training or my MMA training. And then he's in the sally port with the guy as he's escorting him inside the jail, talking about, let's have a fight right now. Like, people out there have so much access to training. It's a normal thing now. We go scroll through our feed on Instagram, and there's a million how to shadow box, how to do a grappling drill, how to sprawl, how to guillotine. I mean, you think about inmates in jail training how to stab people the right way, doing their push-ups, learning how to take handcuffs off and do different things like that. I mean, you don't have to be in jail to learn those trademark secrets anymore. They're given out practically at this point. And if officers are going to be, if they're going to be so close-minded to think that people aren't training for a way to get out of trouble and not go to jail, they're fooling themselves.
It feels like it's almost a matter of time before we have and I don't know if it's happened yet, I haven't heard of it, for like a first officer death from like a choke. It feels like it's gonna happen eventually. Someone's going to use a rear naked choke or something and kill an officer with it, and it's going to happen. I don't know when, and I don't know if it's happened yet. I haven't heard of it, but it's going to happen.
I think there's a real correlation with economy and crime. I mean, that's pretty much an accepted statistic. So I'm going to be interested to see how, with the economy doing the way it is here in the U.S., you and I are both in Texas, and everything revolves around oil. Doesn't matter what city you're in.
Yes.
So we're going to see, as soon as all these people are laying people off, we're going to see people have to go out. The meth heads are going to come out like it's, moths to a flame out there. Everybody's going to be stealing copper and breaking into cars and doing all kinds of stuff. And you're going to get that guy that's done some MMA classes, and it's going to be game on for somebody for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And playing the statistics is a horrible way to do it.
Yeah. Well, I've never needed it before. We'll see how that works out. So
Brad, I was reading in your bio, and you had an interesting quote in there about the gi, and I want to chat to you just a little about that. This is not a gi, no gi conversation in a way, but you're talking about just technique with the gi and how it's helped you personally get better. So how do you chat with cops about that when you're training cops? Has anyone ever asked us, like, yeah, I see you guys wearing training uniforms. Is that practical? What are we using it for? That type of thing. Like, what's your deal with the gi?
I think the gi, number one, more than anything, it makes people uncomfortable. If they've never worn it before, you're hot, you're uncomfortable. It's claustrophobic feeling. So that's a good thing that we need to inoculate people that kind of stress, help them deal with that. I mean, that's an easy way to help get people used to some stress and not even have to do anything. We're just putting a gi on. We're in Texas. In August, it's 120 degrees. Yeah. And I don't necessarily love the AC on really high because I don't want to pay that bill. So, putting the gi on, number one, makes you uncomfortable. It makes it where, especially for police officers, we're training a police officer to teach them a way to recognize what movements are, so that when we do get that trained guy that starts, I hope no trained guy's gonna be doing butterfly guard and spider guard and lasso and stuff. But if that person is able to move and you learn how to do that stuff when they have grips and they throw up a triangle, they throw up an arm bar, if they have all that traction, they have all those grips, if we remove that stuff, so you're in a fight and that person's not wearing a shirt, or you're able to slip out in your gear, I mean, you're training yourself to have to work from a deficit. And I think that's a great thing to be having to do. But also, really importantly, is with a gi, your hands are always busy. So if I'm a police officer, I'm working to effect the arrest. I'm working to put someone in handcuffs. I'm working to be able to do something and get on my radio, maybe use a secondary weapon, start deploying other tools. And nothing trains you to be able to, pat your head and rub your belly at the same time, like working with the gi. MMA guys, I tell them, if you want to learn how to ground and pound, put the gi on. We practice, we grab the sleeve and we work. And we grab the other sleeve and we work. Your hands are always busy. So I think the fear to get in the gi is really misplaced for people that are into MMA and for law enforcement, because you're wearing clothes, the other person's wearing clothes, you have to use your hands. So it really just, it facilitates that mindset and that muscle memory to do something where you're having to meet a lot of different requirements and use your body the right way.
Now, I want to piggyback on that question. I've seen some people talk about officers training while with their duty belt on and full uniform, and saying, well, the majority of jiu-jitsu moves won't work when you have a belt and a vest on and stuff like that. That is not my experience personally. And I've seen there's very few moves that you can't do. I know there's some, but what's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is one of the things that to make that piggyback on my previous question, when you talk about the people that were not supportive and come up with the reasons why they don't want to train, a lot of time it is well, I would never do that in the street. Well, I would never pull guard in the street either. But I'm not going to roll my back around on broken glass and asphalt and whatever else on the floor. I want to be on top. That's silly. It's tactically incorrect. So I think having the duty belt on and stuff, you're learning how to move with added weight. It's throwing you off. That duty belt's going to shift. So again, it's making you uncomfortable. I think just framing, what is your goal in jiu-jitsu? If you're law enforcement, you don't want to be on the bottom very long. So the duty belt's almost negligible. You're just learning how to handle the things that are on it that are all potentially going to be used against you. Mm-hmm. I think officers should put their duty belt on. At the very least, should be training with red guns and how they carry their off-duty stuff. However they're going to do placement on their carry when they're concealed. I think that's extremely necessary. And you're going to figure out really quick the things that you can and can't do, the hip escapes, the movements, opening up, all that stuff's going to be, it's going to be easier for you to understand what you can and can't do without that, or with those things on, because you're going to see in real life what's working. I just think that was the biggest thing for me. Always frustrated me is hearing an officer say, well, why would I need to learn that? I would never do it. It's like, well, I wouldn't do it either, but you have to know it so you can be aware of what someone's doing to you.
Yeah. And we don't always have the option of choosing. Sometimes we are put on our back and it just happens.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. The fight chooses you for sure. You don't get to choose it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that point though, where your hands are always busy and you're having to learn how to multitask while fighting. I've always felt like the gi, I've joked a lot about gi versus no gi, and but I love no gi. I mean, I teach the majority of no gi.
Yeah.
But it's always been a joke for me because I do think the gi, when I started, I was doing mostly no gi, and the gi, and I fell behind because I wasn't training in the gi. And my personal feeling is the gi really forces you to become detail oriented, and it really refines your technique. So then when you're a no-gi, it's actually, to me, it feels more free, and I just enjoy it more. And I think it makes a better jiu-jitsu player.
For sure. And also, again, we talk about the people that need to do this are people that don't want to get hurt. They don't want to tear their knee up. They don't want to hurt their neck, their shoulder, whatever. They're already starting from a deficit. Maybe they're not in good shape. They've been sedentary. They just go to work and sit around in the car for 12 hours. Over 30, veterans, injuries, all that stuff. Gi is great because you get to slow the pace down because of grips. So I think that's huge. And the gi allows you, I think, to stay as close as possible and slow things down and really learn how to ride your partner better than no gi. Because in no gi, every time you make a move, I mean, it's just up to how sweaty we are. Are we in minute 1 or are we in minute 7, you know?
Yeah.
Changes a lot.
So Brad, over years of training, because you have a ton of experience, what has been one of your biggest aha jiu-jitsu moments that you can remember? Either being told by a mentor, you heard from another jiu-jitsu player, a teacher, something that you discovered on a mat because a student said something and you went, wow, like what comes to mind?
I think a lot of it has to do with the mental health side of it. Really, for me, figuring out again that we use this as replacement therapy, especially officers and people that are veterans, people that have been through some kind of trauma. I think that's more than a training philosophy or more than a set of techniques or having that light bulb moment where you figure out about how to move your hips a certain way. I think all that stuff is great. But for me, figuring out why I felt so bad, so depressed, why I felt so like the world is against me when I wasn't training compared to when I am training. I think that's a big light bulb moment and really lets you know it bleeds out in everything else you do jiu-jitsu. Because when you figure that out, you realize the benefit it has for you and why you're really doing it at the end of the day, you know, not chasing a belt, not chasing medals, not necessarily trying to beat up the other guy in the gym, but I'm definitely trying to beat that guy up. But I mean, I think getting that personal knowledge of why am I here and what benefit does that have for me is the thing that will get people to stay in it long term. Because I think it makes you patient. It just makes you understand, like, all I got to do is be here, and I'm going to be better off than if I wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and that mental health thing, I mean, as policing has evolved, I think today in 2020, we talk about it, you know, our buddies in policing, they'll reach out, we reach out. I mean, it's not underground like it used to be, like just suck it up, be tough and shut up. You have a problem. It's not like that anymore. And you had talked about earlier about we see things that no normal person should see. And it's incremental, how it builds up. And I think Jason can also speak to this as well. It's just basically jiu-jitsu is that amazing release. And the mental health aspect is just you mentioning it. It's so true. It is so true.
I mean, I know people right now are just going stir crazy because they can't get to train and they're like, man, I'm depressed. I didn't realize what this meant to me at this point before, you know, BC, you know, before Corona. You know?
BC.
But it's a real thing. You know, I don't know if you guys have looked much into anything, but you know, the Mighty Oaks Warrior Program, Chad Robichaux, black belt. You know, he's Carlson Gracie. Now he trained with Draculino forever. He fought in Strike Force and Bellator and everything. And you know, Chad, he didn't realize what doing MMA and jiu-jitsu was doing for him. It's replacement therapy. He was using it as, well, this is all I got. So it became a crutch instead of a helper. And when he figured out that this is something that can help me, then he respected it a lot more and could use it better. And he's talked about that many times. And I see the exact same things. So that's the light bulb for me. And I think that's the light bulb for a lot of people, especially now when we missed something for 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever, and come back. I think mental health is now going to be one of the driving components as opposed to people that were just training I just gonna want to go win Pan Ams and then win Master Worlds. It's like, that's great until it doesn't exist anymore. And then you got to really figure out if you love jiu-jitsu and what it does for you.
You know, it's pretty interesting. I think when we get back, you know, it's funny. I had a conversation with somebody. I don't want to name who it was yesterday. He's a black belt. He trains a lot, and he said, you know, I don't really miss jiu-jitsu that much, which I thought was interesting. I think his point was I found out that, you know, there's other things in my life, my family, things like that I can spend time with. It doesn't have to be on the mat twice a day, every 5 days a week type thing. But I can tell you personally, going through this COVID Corona stuff, it's been stressful. It's you know, not having your normal routines and the stuff at work. It's definitely been stressful. And I know that for me, getting back on the mat, it's going to be a huge ability to release a lot of stress and to get back into balance. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think there's going to be a lot of people who feel the same way.
100%.
people also talk about, I mean, jiu-jitsu is funny because it comes in different forms. And one of the forms is, I mean, there's the physical release, but how we handle not being on the mat is a jiu-jitsu mindset, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. So how are we managing ourselves on a daily basis? It's been beneficial for me personally, because I've had a ton of injuries and it's been giving time to heal, which I'm very grateful for. But as Jason said, I just miss the physical release on the mat and just rolling with people. And then it's going to be weird getting back on the mat, to be honest, and just to see where your body's at. Obviously our minds are kind of still there, but this is going to be a little slower.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's community too. It's community. I mean, again, if you're a law enforcement person, if you're in that field and you're around those kind of people all the time, then you're always around people with, like, you know, the gallows humor, and everybody drinks when they get off. And what are you gonna do? Oh, we're gonna go to so-and-so's after shift. We're gonna drink and play Call of Duty. And, you know, so those social activities around those people all the time, you build up a brotherhood. It's awesome, but it's also cool for people to be able to have, and that's in any kind of job, but it's cool to be able to go to that other place and have the community with the people where everybody is different. You got the computer nerds and the meatheads, and you got the guys that want to compete, and the guys who do it just for fun. You got the old dudes that are, you know, it's like trying to fight a zombie. They won't tap out because they're like, I'm 67, I'm gonna go anyway. You know, I'm taking you with me. It's you know, going against guys like that. You know, and it's the women, the moms, the MMA guys. Like, you have so many different personalities, from the engineers and the instructors to the cops and the vets. It's cool to be in that community and interact with those people, because you really, I think it really does give you like a good, healthy respect for a really broad stroke of humanity there. And that's important. I think for cops, that's hugely important, because you're around cops all the time. Everybody's a piece of crap. Everybody's lying to you. Everybody's a jerk. Everyone's going to shoot me when I can get out of the car. And you're around all these jiu-jitsu guys. You're like, oh, there's so-and-so. He's a pothead, but he's a nice guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's just so many personalities. I think it really keeps you grounded and keeps you, like, more in touch with just human beings in general.
Yeah. I agree. That's I tell people that all the time. I tell cops that's one of the best things about jiu-jitsu is that it exposes you to all different types of people from all different backgrounds and lifestyles. And it really gives you a good appreciation for humanity and people in general. So yeah, because what do we see? We go to work and you're getting call after call to family violence, to whatever, you know, and it's always going to be the worst people at their worst most of the time, which is a terrible way to have to look at things. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's one of the best parts for me, and I think for police officers in general, for jiu-jitsu, just the exposure to everybody.
And that exposure, I mean, it goes both ways. It's not just with the people you're dealing with on calls, but I mean, it's also the people you're dealing with at work. I mean, everybody knows the statistics. I mean, officers, you know, what is it, 50% more likely to be alcoholic, substance abuse, more likely to have domestic violence cases against them, more likely to you know, all these different things. Suicide rates are astronomical, divorce, everything else. So you're around those people that are fundamentally unhappy because of dealing with all those other people. So you're getting it from both sides. You're getting it from the people you deal with on the call, then you're getting it from your brotherhood. So it's so refreshing to be able to go somewhere else and have another brotherhood that's not like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, those people, they don't care. They don't care what you do. They're all good people. If they weren't, I'm really hard pressed to find scumbags at a jiu-jitsu school. Mm-hmm. It's usually the MMA guys.
Right. That's true.
So Brad, if we're thinking about that whole mental health aspect and getting into jiu-jitsu and staying in jiu-jitsu, I want to actually just shift gears here and talk about burnout in jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a joke amongst the jiu-jitsu community about blue belt is where people typically quit. And there's a million memes about the blue belt quitting. But what's the biggest burnout reasons that you can honestly think about that people end up stopping jiu-jitsu? What comes to mind?
I think there's two paths on that. One of them is the slow progression in a I want to hit the easy button kind of society. You know, that's where we lose a lot of people just because, like, man, it took me 2 years to get the blue belt. I don't have 10 more years in me, you know, because it's difficult. allowing yourself to be okay with sucking at something, but not be okay with it enough to motivate yourself to keep going, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
And then the other side of it, I think the big burnout is injury. I think we spend in that first couple of years, we spaz out too much. We don't have that humble mentality. We're not willing to let go of ego, so we don't tap to stuff. We fight out of everything. Every round is the finals, the mundials. And then we're 5 years down the road, and we got shoulder problems and knee problems and necks and everything. So I think the biggest thing that I have noticed to help eliminate burnout that seems to work the best as a philosophy is train a little, a lot. Like just being consistent. You don't have to train 7 days a week, 2 times a day, but you should train as much as you can when you can. Take advantage of, if you have a day off, you're not doing anything, hit up a couple classes, because you might not be able to go for 3 days. You know, and if you can't go, don't beat yourself up about it, because I think the burnout from not being good and from getting injury is as real as burnout from missing classes and feeling like you're just spinning your wheels. Some people feel like if they can't go, if there's 30 days a month, they feel like they can't go 40 times, then they're doing themselves a disservice. They shouldn't even be involved. And that's the wrong attitude.
I agree. You got to keep balance. That's, you know, and that's something that I think maybe this whole thing we're going through right now, it might show some guys. I kind of like my friend was saying, you don't have to train 2 classes a day, 5 days a week. It'll show some guys, hey, you can train 3 times a week. That's okay. If that's what you got, that's consistent. You know, you're still going to get a lot out of it. You're still going to learn a lot, and it's going to benefit you, because what is it? It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? We all want to do this as long as possible, as long as our bodies can handle it. And I agree. That's a really good perspective.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the shift work, being a cop too, that can be difficult, as we all know. And I'm on shift work right now, so I think setting those goals is important. So I try to come in twice a week, and I do my like 3 hours per segment, and then I'm good. And that's a lot for like some people too. I mean, in a month, my training, I'm getting more training in actually probably 2 weeks than I do in the entire year in my department that we're supposed to teach, right?
Right.
It's crazy. And but you're right. I mean, Chad says that train a little, a lot. It's true, and it can even be 1 day a week. It doesn't have to be, 2 or 3.
Yeah. The thing with that is if you train a little bit, you just have to. Just people need to make peace with certain things. I tell MMA fighters, you get these people that say they want to fight, and then they flinch with every punch, and they're worried about getting hit in the face, and they're worried about getting kicked and stuff. It's like, hey man, if you're going to be a member of the diving team, you're going to get wet. You know, if you're going to train MMA, you're going to get hit. If you're going to train jiu-jitsu, you're going to get beat. You're going to get choked. You're going to have people that you can't escape their side control, and you're going to ask the coach, how do I get out? And he's going to say, why did you end up there? I mean, those things are all just accepted, but we accept them because we've been doing it for so long. So I think our job as instructors or upper belts or just guys that have been at the gym for a little bit longer than the new guy, I think we need to hold ourselves accountable and have just maybe offer just a little more grace with people. Just say, hey, you are going to go through this. No, I'm not. I'm tough. I've been through this. I do CrossFit. Like, no. You're going to go through this stuff, and that's okay. You're supposed to. You're not a unique snowflake. Everybody has gone through this stuff. We have to tell people that.
So Brad, what do you do as an instructor and an owner of a gym when a brand new person comes in? How do you manage that brand new white belt? Because they have all this anxiety coming in probably. Who do you pair that white belt up with? How does the progression go from week 1, 2, and 3 to a month? Like, how's it work at your school?
So, we had a big shakeup with instructors leaving and going other places and stuff. So nothing philosophically changed too much with that. But what happened is it went from having a very widespread, white belt through black belt to having a ton of white belts that started out new, and then having a spattering of white, blue, brown, blue, purple, brown, and black. So what I would always do is I'll take the brand new person, and they're going to do a fundamental class first, have to do a fundamental class. If they can't make that time slot, then they're going to go to a class that's as close to fundamentals as far as what we're covering and how the structure is as possible. So learning how to move, learning the basics for position, and not trying to make people drink from the fire hydrant is the biggest thing. I think students are going to fall in love with jiu-jitsu and get excited about jiu-jitsu. So as soon as they leave jiu-jitsu, they're going to pull stuff up on their phone. They're going to be looking through YouTube and Instagram and everything else. So our job as instructors is not to have a class where we are trying to teach 2, 3, 4 things in every class. I mean, my philosophy with taking these new people is we learn a concept per week. That concept might be a position and then attacking one submission from there, or just learning how to control or whatever. So giving them as little information as possible, focusing on movement, and then always pairing them up with upper belts. If you don't have upper belts, as far as like the colored belts, then I'm trying to put this day 1 white belt with this month 7 white belt all the time. And really spend the time with them on allowing them just to feel the movement instead of worrying about finishing. I think submissions are cool, and they would definitely probably keep my retention rate for brand new people that do a trial if you show them a bunch of crazy stuff. But I think doing submissions and stuff is very difficult to get someone to understand all the things that play from the person on top doing their job correctly and as expected and what we're baiting, for the person on bottom to do what they're expecting. So I take all the guesswork out of that. You're going to learn how to move. You're going to learn what the position's about. And you're going to learn a concept of controlling that position. And you're going to do that for a week. I don't really put people in to do rounds right off the bat, but if they do a round, it's going to be just specialized training. Like, you're going to be in this person's guard, and they're going to show you how they can control your balance and your posture. And your job is to not let them do that. So just feed them little bites, eat that elephant at a bite at a time, so that way they can get it all down.
Yeah. That's an interesting, because I've had this talk with people. When I started, I remember first class was, you don't know anything. Here's a lesson, which I don't even remember what we learned. And now we're doing live training. And I just remember everybody just beating the crap out of me. But because I'm sadistic, I enjoyed it and was like, I've got to keep doing this so I can do that to somebody. But I think that way of learning is kind of going out the wayside, it seems to me, because it's not effective at retaining students. And it's probably not effective.
People want to keep students in the gym. That's really important.
Yeah. So you take that concept of, hey, there's like a week of just not live training. It's just learning, and then maybe some off to the side working techniques until – at what point do you feel like they're ready to do live training?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, you've been training for a long time. Ari, you've been training for a long time. When you have a brand new person walk in that first day and you start them out, they do shrimps, they're doing hip escaping, they're doing reverse shrimp, they're doing shoulder rolls, jump squats, all that stuff. Then you're teaching them how to just like do a regular, like a standing guard pass, or like 1994 elbows in guard pass, whatever. When we're going through that, by the time that class is 30 minutes in, that person's, they're doing full speed training in their mind, really, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think having to keep pushing them deeper and deeper into the pool is the thing. I think getting them in that 4 foot, hey, you can doggy paddle, you don't want to touch the bottom, you're good. I think that's more beneficial, because putting that person in a full on round, they're going to get hurt, or they're going to hurt one of your guys that's now we're talking about people getting discouraged and not wanting to train anymore because they're always getting hurt, because they're always going with a white belt trying to kick that white belt's ass. And the white belt's not getting their ass kicked the way they expect to, they're spazzing out, elbowing them, kicking them. So I think just we have to move away from, it worked for us, but we see how many of the people that started at our time are still doing jiu-jitsu. It's a very small fraction.
That's true.
I think there needs to be some of that intensity and mindset, and motivate them, stress them out a little bit. No, put your hand here, go, 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 go. There has to be that, but it has to be like in smaller segments. So that way we're already physically overwhelming them. That just them going from their car to the front door of that academy probably mentally overwhelmed them that day anyway. So we just have to let them be students.
Yeah.
And Brad, I think the training modality, I mean, I know it's changed over the years, but you don't know what you don't know. So when North America and America, the US and Canada was introduced to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the old school BJJ mentality, which we all know was this, like, the strong survive, that's it, right? And we roll hard. And so we were kind of taking that on, but teaching changed. enrollment changed. It's different in the States than it is in Brazil, just with clients and stuff like that. So it started to adapt, and you're totally right. I mean, I remember when I started and we didn't know what the hell we were doing and lots of injuries, but we just stuck with it because we're all sadistic, like you said. But it has to change. And I think that retention in schools are going up for people who realize that. So.
Absolutely. You know, there's still that stuff. There's still that mentality, you know, the everyday Pojada time. Like, yeah, okay. How do those guys feel after a year of Pojada time?
Mm-hmm.
They feel like crap, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. Oh man, well, I was gonna do this tournament, but my elbow's messed up and my shoulder, and my knee, or whatever. You know, what's one of those cliche sayings that I don't even know which Gracie gym said it, you know, Jiu-Jitsu for everyone. You know, all those things, they're right. Unless we make it where it's not for everyone, it's only for the sadistic people.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a responsibility. If you want cops to do this, if you want families to do it, if we want to preach that a housewife can get good jiu-jitsu, then we can't treat that housewife like the 25-year-old former D1 athlete that's trying to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny because my instructor Keith Owens says, how many wrestlers in D1 wrestlers do you see at the age of 65 still doing wrestling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of dawns on you. And don't get me wrong, wrestling is probably the toughest thing out there. It is amazing, but the beating that it puts on your body is crazy. And Pedro Sauer talks about this as well, about like, if you want to be 90 and keep doing jiu-jitsu, Keith says that as well. And I believe it. You just have to change your training mindset.
100%. I think you have to have that goes for the individual. You have individual responsibility to change your mindset. The instructor has to have that mindset, and all your training partners have to understand. Like, there's training partners that you can grab a hold of them. You're like, I'm going to lapel drag your face through the floor as hard as I can, and they're totally cool with that.
Yeah.
And then there's some people that if you scissor sweep them too hard, they're like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
We just have to just be aware of who we're playing with, and that means you have to learn how to handle your stress, calm yourself down, and really talk yourself through. Who am I going with? I want this guy to be around so he can try to kill me in 3 more years.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair to those people who want to train hard, it's not a dig on them. And you totally should. The people who want to compete and want to go hard, you need those people too.
When we had the shake up at the gym, I specifically was like, you know, here's what I see. I see a lot of people want to compete all the time. And then when they don't get the results they want, they're depressed. They're so resentful of jiu-jitsu. It might be for a week. It might be for 2 or 3 months. And another tournament. And then they get burnt out, or they get hurt, or they're not getting the results they want. And so then they dread walking through the door. So I really was like, I'm not going to push competition on these guys for a while. If they want to do it, I'm going to support them, help them out. I've got the experience. Compete a lot. I've won at every level, so this will be good. But what I'm seeing is exactly what I'm trying to foster. I'm so glad it's happening, where I've got those guys that are white belts that have been training for 3 months that I'm just like, as soon as they bring up competition, I'm like, absolutely, you need to do this. You are very well equipped for this. You're going to do fine. And they go out and sweep their division, win gold medals in a non-competition school. But because they have training partners that they know they can go with, and they're getting the most out of the other training partner that they know they can't try to kick that person's ass 100 miles an hour, but they're doing specialized training. Hey, I'm this person, I'm just going to be on bottom of my worst spots and play. I think it teaches people how to think whenever they're having to go hard, because they've had those rounds where they can't rely on physicality.
What are you doing? So, you know, with all this is one of my favorite questions, with all the Corona stuff going on. What are you doing to stay sharp and ready for when the mats finally open back up?
Eating as much food as possible and
try to get the size.
And yeah, I figure I'm giving myself like a really good protective coat.
And a little extra weight.
Yeah, just shock absorbing. Not, there's still some, while following good health protocols, there's still some like individual training that's been going on. So I'm still able to do that. We're checking temperatures before people come in. We're not allowing a lot of people in the gym. So we're managing that all right. So I've been doing that. I've gotten more into lifting some weights again a little bit. I hate it. I'm not good at it. I've never seen the point in like, how much can you bench? If someone asks me how much I bench, I just like, well, how much do you weigh? I'll be fine, you know? So getting more into that's been good. And I think also just, you know, like I said, the time away to be able to recover from some injuries and not just pounding on yourself every single day is huge.
So you guys have been doing some training with like precautions? That's what you've been kind of low key or what?
Yeah. So like if people, I mean, there's a lot of caveats to that, you know, during this entire lockdown. So we're talking now for Texas, we're almost at 8 weeks. We're almost at 6 weeks. Because so the first thing I did was when this all first started happening, they were talking about shutting down gyms. I shut my gym down a week before that. So shut down a week before, did like a super deep clean of everything. I mean, I was spraying the ceilings and every single surface in the gym. So did several deep cleanings. Then from there, if you want to train, no one can have been sick with anything this entire year. So we're talking January to March. So 3 months, they can't have had upper respiratory infection, bronchitis, pneumonia, and any of that stuff that could possibly mirror what the symptoms are. So if someone had an upset stomach or they stubbed their toe, that's one thing. But if they're coughing and hacking up a lung, I don't want that person anywhere near the gym for right now. So we were doing that. We check temps. We make sure that person, most people can work. If you're fortunate enough to still have a job, a lot of people are able to work remote. So if you're working remote, you have never had symptoms and no one else in your household was out working around other people and having close contact with the public, and they're not showing symptoms, then I think that's a calculated risk that we're all having to take anyway. Mm-hmm. So we've been able to do some of that stuff and had great results with it. But again, it's not something that's open to everybody. As we move forward into actual having classes on May 1st, I've got the infrared temperature readers that will be gauging temperatures before people walk in the door. Mm-hmm. Class sizes are going to be limited and have to be reserved. You can't be congregating and socializing inside the gym. If you want to go out in the parking lot and do that before and after class, awesome, but not in class. People that are there, like, you know, a lot of times in classes, significant others, boyfriends, girlfriends, parents, kids, whatever, come in and hang out. They got to be in the car or just not there. So we don't continue to have extra bodies in there. And people that have canceled or people that want to join the gym, they're going to have to wait until we're further down the line. You know, the people that are still supporting and doing things the way that we're asking them to do for taking care of themselves and being accountable, those people are going to be easy to get into the classes because they've already shown that they're willing to step back and let things work themselves out. You know, I don't want that person that's been cooped up for 6 weeks. I'm like, hey, I'm going to sign up for Jiu-Jitsu. Like, I got a lot of other people that waited. We're going to work with those people first.
That's interesting.
So
that's good. So I guess you had a lot of success with that then.
No, for sure. No, there's been no problems. And again, for the incubation time, I mean, been doing this for enough time now that if that was going to be a problem, it would have been a problem. Mm-hmm. And you know, me working with one or two people that have not been sick and haven't been running anybody sick, and they're not going out in public and doing anything. A lot of trust goes into that. I have to trust those people are handling things the right way, right? Because all of us know the guy that's got staff that still wants to go train. That person's not going to be allowed in the gym because if I can't trust them with a skin infection, I can't trust them with a freaking virus. You know what I mean? Like this.
Well, that's the benefit. That's the benefit of the lockdown, Brad, because hopefully everyone who comes back, all the staff and ringworm will all be healed up, so we won't have any problems, right?
Yeah, if we can just teach people to wash their asses and their hands and do their laundry, that'd be amazing.
I had a discussion with someone about that, and I was saying just because of everything we've gone through and washing hands and protocol, I think we're going to see probably less flu and cold symptoms for next year and the year because it's just part of our psyche now.
Oh yeah, everybody's scared to death. It's like a scared and straight program for sure.
Yeah.
I think the big thing, one of the big things is asking people to shower before they come and train also. You know, a lot of people don't shower before they come train. Sometimes that's not a bad thing to work in an office. Sometimes they work out in the oil field, and that's a bad thing. You know, and I think we're going to see people staying cleaner And I hope it translates over into uniforms and stuff and people really deep cleaning things. Because if I have to roll with one more person after this break, if I have to roll with someone whose gi smells like fried food or cigarettes or, you know, like a cat peed on it, I'm going to lose my mind.
Why is it that it smells like cat pee? Where's the ammonia smell come from when people don't clean their stuff? Like, I don't even understand that.
I have no idea, but it kills me. I can't stand it. You know, you don't want to be that jerk that's going to say something, but you have to be the jerk that says something.
I say so. I can't do it,
man. Yeah.
I hate that smell more than almost, other than maybe dead bodies. That's the smell I hate the most. I can't stand that ammonia smell.
Well, I'd rather walk in on a dead body than have my face buried into someone's armpit that smells like cat pee, man.
Oh, God.
That's
so, Brad,
horrible.
I just want to do a fun segment as we wind this down. And this is actually for Jason as well. So I'm going to start. And the segment is about if you can put your mind back when you started jiu-jitsu or even before, like around the time you started and looking on the internet or looking up something. I'm remembering videos that really stick out in my mind from like 15 and 17, 20 years ago type of thing. And one in particular for me that I remember way back in the day, I was a white belt, was a black belt in karate and a black belt in BJJ, and it's in Brazil. And this guy goes, Hajime, and they fight. And the black belt in karate rushes the BJJ guy, tries to strike him. Guy lifts him up, puts him on the ground. It lasts a minute or less. He hyperextends his arm in such a way that is brutal. And I remember that being such an impact on me going, like, what happened? You know, it was that whole Gracie experience watching Hoist do the same thing, but it was a different context because it wasn't in a ring. It was just in some kind of dark gym and it happened. What kind of videos jump into your mind that you can remember from back in the day that had an impact?
For definitely. So along your lineage, Pedro Sauer versus Bodybuilder.
Oh, Lance.
Remember that video?
Yeah,
that's classic. You know, honestly, the thing that really showed to me that how effective jiu-jitsu can be when you're not good at punching people, you're still going to get your ass whooped a little bit, was the Sean Gannon Kimbo video.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's definitely like, hey, jiu-jitsu can save you. You're going to get hurt. That for me, that video is important for people to see, that if you know jiu-jitsu and MMA, you can fight with somebody that's a very skilled, very powerful, like knockout type of fighter. Mm-hmm. You can fight and survive and win. But just because you know this like magical, cool pajama fighting art that we all love to do, doesn't mean you're not going to take some damage. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't want to, but I think that video is huge for people to understand, like, hey, it's great that you know all this stuff. Now watch what happens when you fight someone that's trying to whoop your ass. Mm-hmm. So that to me has always been a video that I refer for people for like self-defense purposes or fighting someone that's a striker. Like, you know, his face is jacked at the end, but
yeah.
I
think that Sean Gannon, he was actually fired from his department over
after that video.
It was Boston Police Department, wasn't it?
He was, yep. And it was either after that video or he did another fight and then they let him go after that, and there was a big controversy with that. But yeah, pretty interesting.
I think they fired him after he fought in the UFC.
Oh, is that what it was?
Because he fought in the UFC, because the video is what catapulted him to that. And then they're like, you know, I mean, that's the generation gap that we've passed through, is if you did MMA back then, you were involved in human cockfighting, and they only had the opportunity to watch it every third month or whatever at Hooters and in the bar. And
it's funny.
Yeah, I think he got fired for that.
Well, actually, Brad, so I'm looking this up now because I was just curious. So it says that UFC fighter turned and police officer was fired for he was asked to turn in his gun and badge when he blew the whistle on a dirty cop.
Oh.
Yeah, so it says that he was fired for whistleblowing to the FBI. So it's interesting because I want to do some research because I didn't realize that.
Gosh,
I thought it was fighting Kimbo in the gym, and then get signed to the UFC, and he was like, great, whatever.
That was a story I've always heard too. But, you know, I wonder if that's interesting. I wonder if that goes back to the what was that Irish mobster that was running Boston? They made a couple movies about it. Johnny Depp played him.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The Irish.
I wonder if it's related to that. It's pretty, because that guy pretty much ran that town about that time frame too.
Interesting. Was that Donnie Brasco? Was that?
No.
It's way further back or closer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
I would say I've watched that video a million times because he was a police officer, and two, it was showing the difference between someone who's training jujitsu and someone who's just purely a striker. And I love to show people that video because everybody thought Kimbo was just like, he's knocking all these chumps out. Not all were chumps, but he was knocking a lot of chumps out. I was watching him fight somebody who's trained, and he's a cop too. And I've watched that video, and it should have been over a lot quicker, except for his crew kept interrupting it. He would have finished that fight a lot faster.
That was Kimbo's
no chokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would interrupt every time he got into a dominant position and could finish the fight. They would always step in. That was the old school way, right? We're not wrestling. This is fighting. So that one, I tell you, that was a huge one on me. Obviously, the first couple of UFCs, I had made no sense to me to see this little guy getting all these guys to tap. I didn't understand it. And I didn't start training then, but obviously, 10 years later when I'm looking, that's the first thing that's popping in my mind about, oh yeah, I remember that. All the Gracie Challenge videos, I remember looking those all up when I first started training and watching just first of all, the narration was that Horian doing the narration?
Yeah, it was Horian.
So Horian's doing the narration, and it's beautiful. And he's like the jiu-jitsu fight, just the way he would describe it. And I like how he would say how he could finish him, but he went, he's not going to finish him yet. And it would show him slapping him. So he's just slapping him instead of doing something else that's a lot worse. And, it's those Gracie Challenge videos. I still love. I've seen them all a million times. Mm-hmm. So, but I still love watching them. Oh, it's amazing. They're amazing. I wish we still had that. We're not in that environment anymore. But I wish we still had like new Gracie Challenge videos that would pop up.
As an instructor, you could make those essentially if you wanted to with new guys that come in with that guy that comes in and says, "I'm 30-0 in the street. Yep. My uncle taught me out of the box.
I'm about to fight in the street."
Yeah, like you could make those videos. Yes, I know I'm tough. I could be a pro fighter. I was in prison.
You think liability-wise it would hold? You don't think gyms would start getting sued? That's what I would be afraid. Nowadays, we're so litigious.
Oh, no, for sure. I mean, it's definitely. But if you did it as a Gracie Challenge, Gracie in action style, where you're like, I'm not gonna hurt this guy. This person's trying to hurt me, and I'm gonna take them down, take them back, whatever.
Some of those Gracie Challenge videos, people were getting hurt.
True.
There was one,
I think you could do that to an extent, but it's probably we live in such a litigious society. It's probably not a good idea.
In this millennial,
I mean, you're going to come across looking like an asshole because, of course, you're going to do that to them. They don't know what they're doing.
I guess there was a time and space for that. That was the time to show how effective jiu-jitsu is, and it really kind of helped. Bring in students and show people, hey, this is a super effective form of martial arts. Nowadays, we already know. Most people who train in any form or fashion, they know now.
If you tried to fight MMA starting in 2000 to 2005, you had Gracie in action, Gracie challenges going on for you to be able to train because you would like, hey, you're a big guy, come in here and do this with us and try to knock me out.
That's true.
Or you go to the karate gym and like, hey, I need to spar some guys because I'm going to do an MMA fight against a kickboxer. And the karate guys would sprint in, try to spinning back key in the face or, backhand you or whatever. You have to take them down to the ground and choke them. And, then you can't come in here and do that anymore. All right, bye,
So cool. the internet is abuzz because I think coming out later this year is a movie and it's called Jujitsu.
Yes.
You guys are aware of this?
Yes.
So,
is this the one that's supposed to be on Netflix?
I don't know where it's supposed to come out. So I know that Nicolas Cage was in it, and I'm like, okay. And so wait a minute. So it gets worse. It gets worse, Jason.
Nicolas Cage.
So we're thinking, Jiu-Jitsu, finally they're showcasing, and they go Nicolas Cage, and like, shit, he's gonna ruin it. Anyway, I looked up what the premise of the movie was, and it's even worse than I thought. It has Tony Jaa in it as well, but it is about every 6 years, an alien comes to Earth and has to fight a guy, and they fight, and it's called Jiu-Jitsu, but all the moves in the movie are like Tony Jaa doing his stuff. And anyway, it's an alien versus a Jiu-Jitsu fighter. That's the premise of the movie.
No.
Didn't you just describe the premise for Mortal Kombat?
Sounds like Mortal Kombat. Yeah, they were supposed to do. Netflix was supposed to do like a documentary.
On the Gracie family,
like the Narco style, like the docudrama.
Right.
That's different. Yeah, that's a different one.
But I haven't seen anything about it.
Robert Drysdale's been doing one too. He's been filming something.
Oh, well, that should be good. If Drysdale's doing it, it'd be legit.
Drysdale's doing some sort of documentary, and he's been going like the deep roots of jiu-jitsu, not so like the Gracie side of it. He's been going like really deep into the judo side, like small circle jiu-jitsu, Japanese jiu-jitsu. So I think that's going to be legit. He's been posting about some interviews that he's gotten done, and he was fortunate enough to get several of them done with guys that have recently passed on. So that was really cool to have that.
I want to see a Narco style, old school from the 20s through the 30s through the 40s, just showing like the Vale Tudo fights, maybe finishing with that Hickson versus Zulu fight, or I don't know, just some crazy the fights that they would have like on the beach, like the famous Hickson fight on the beach. I've heard them talk about fights in bars. Hinzo's got some amazing stories. He was bouncing when he was 14, and some of the stuff they did. I want to see that part of jiu-jitsu shown into like a docudrama like Narco style, and then build it up over a couple seasons to where we are now. That would be amazing. I think people would love it.
Do it.
Yeah, okay, with my connections.
Because here's the deal: is all of us, if you can train long enough, everybody went through the disappointment that was the movie Red Belt.
What a terrible movie! It made cops look bad.
It was horrible.
Instructors look bad. It made everybody look bad. It wouldn't even. I don't know. How many flying armballs
it was
have I
never
ever
back
seen
down.
in my life? Well, no, nothing is never back down.
So, Brad, I want you to, this is your time to do a shout out and just promote your gym and anything you got going on. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah. MidlandBJJ.com. Anybody that's through Texas wants to come out and visit West Texas, there's nothing to do here. And there's a lot of good, there's jiu-jitsu schools. There's jiu-jitsu schools, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 5 or 6 jiu-jitsu schools in the West Texas area. So there's a lot of places to train. So that's really cool. Our gym, we're affiliated under Professor Pete Wilhelm at a Triton Fight Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Professor Pete's been awesome, super supportive. The guys over there, Steve Matthias, Judo Steve, he's been amazing for me as a resource to have access to. So those guys have been awesome. So just my association through Carlson Gracie, Triton Fight Center, has been really huge for me. Those guys have been nothing but supportive. So I really love them for everything they've done. My students are amazing. I have such a cool vibe in the gym. Jason can attest to that. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got an awesome attitude. Everybody's eager to learn and has a smile on their face and loves training. Right now, all we're doing is I'm trying to gear more towards doing more stuff with Invictus, of course. I've got CTS that I work with Cole Miller from American Top Team.
Oh, awesome.
He and I are doing combatives training for people as small group classes in Texas and Georgia, doing a lot of that. And then, again, already touched on a little bit, but Mighty Oaks. I can't stress enough for law enforcement, first responders, don't wait until you're 10, 15, 20 years into a career and your life is falling down around you and you don't have a relationship with your kids and your significant other and your family, and you hate going to work every day, but it's your paycheck. Don't wait till you get to that point. You're so cynical and the world looks so bleak every day you open your eyes. We're not in that time frame anymore where you have to be ashamed of saying, hey, I need to take a step back. I got to work on me for a minute, self-care, whatever you want to call it. But Mighty Oaks has been amazing for that, for veterans for a long time. They opened up. I happened to be in their first responder class. I've gone twice, had to go back. I needed it. I need it desperately in my life. And I think, again, that's just another brotherhood of people that are like-minded, that can help get you through the difficult times in life, that, your psychologist that's just gone to college and talks to people that have, go through a rough patch. They can't identify with what you're going through. Everybody else, if you told them about it, they'd look at you like you're crazy and they'd feel bad for you. And we don't want people to feel bad for you. Don't pity me. Talk to me and identify with me, and let's work through problems. I think Mighty Oaks is a huge program for that. They're on a national level. They will pay for you to go, whether it's Texas or Ohio or in San Luis Obispo in California. I believe they got another one like Virginia. They've got so many outlets for people to go to and be able to really get in touch with what is my purpose And if what I'm doing right now is not working, then it's time to do something different. And I think it's time for us as first responders, former first responders, veterans, active duty, to really start paying attention to how we feel so we don't end up a statistic like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. And I know you mentioned Pete Wilhelm. Pete's a friend of mine. He's awesome. I got a ton of respect for him. He's in Oklahoma, obviously, and I love Triton. And Pete's amazing. I have a story about Renato Tavares. I was a brown belt, and it was the first time I met him. I was at Pete's gym, and I rolled with him. And I have never in my life felt like a clear belt after rolling with him. It was the most incredible. I laughed, like I was laughing. It was like tap, 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 constant. And it was such a delightful experience to go with. He's really short, he's a little Yoda guy, but he is a master. He is awesome.
He's like 5'4" and like 138 pounds, like soaking wet. And, you know, I'm 5'11", 225.
Yeah.
And I went to go deep half, and he just turned his hip and pinned me with his head and his shoulder. And I felt like the most ineffective human being to ever do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. And if you've rolled with Pete, have you ever been shin locked before?
Oh yes, the SOS, man. Like, yeah.
Man, I love that.
Great
I hate
move.
it when it's done to me, but
Yeah.
I love doing that to people. He gave me some black magic when he did that to me.
Yeah, he came out to my school, I don't know, maybe 9 years ago when we were doing the black belt chain reaction with him, James Foster, Keith Owen, and Classy Grappler. Yeah, and you know what? Now I'm thinking about, because I haven't done it in like years, I think you should put it back in the game, right?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I've done it a couple. Some people I'll do it. I've done it a couple times, and they'll be like, "What the fuck was that?" You know, and it's like,
Well,
you said black magic.
we really appreciate you joining us. Thanks very much for
man.
sitting down for an hour with Jason and I.
Thank you, guys. I love it. I love what you guys are doing. I think you guys are doing Lord's work, man. You are saving people that don't even realize they need to be saved. That's a big deal.
Thanks, man. It's good talking to you again.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Everyone, check out Brad Barnes at Midland, Texas, at Midland BJJ.
That's how you can taste from Canada. It says Midland.
Midland.
Midland.